to Horse Talk, where we are going to talk about three similarities between dog training and horse training that I think applies to any pet you might have. Yes, and I think the first kind of universal rule that we can apply to maybe even our kids and spouses is the rule of don't say do. Yes, because as beings, we like better to, be told something to do rather than be told what we are not supposed to do all the time. You might agree with this. You have probably felt it even yourself. If you are together with someone who always go like, don't do this, stop doing that, it gets pretty annoying. Instead, it's much better to, say, yeah, why don't you, button up your shirt a little bit, or do you need help with your shoelaces? So that also applies to horses and especially also dogs. But what I see when people are together with their dogs or their horses, for that matter, is that there's a lot of don't do this going on. No, 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 don't, which annoys both the horse and the dog without us maybe even noticing that we're doing it. We could do it with our body language, with our hands, with our aids. So it's much, much more effective to ask the horse or the dog to do something they can't do without not doing the undesired behavior than to ask them to not do the undesired behavior. Yes, and I will give an example. Since I'm now both a horse trainer and a dog trainer, because we recently got a 1-year-old dog who doesn't know anything. And she's learning a lot. And we have another dog, and they are two bitches, so they can be a bit, play fighting going on, a bit like growling and biting and stuff. And especially when they are around me. So it seems like when they are away from me, they are the best friends ever. But once I call them to come to me, they start fighting. And I tried to tell them not to fight, go like, no, don't do that. Didn't work very well. And I also tried to kind of reward them for not fighting, which actually made everything even worse, because then they were so concerned about getting the reward first that they started fighting even more. But then on the third walk with these two dogs, I decided to ask them something they can't do without not fighting. So I asked them to sit down. And immediately after that, it was like turning a switch. They stopped fighting. So their behavior has radically changed in just 3 minutes from me realizing, don't say do. And what can I ask them to do that they can't do without not fighting? Yes, so I hope this helps. And this is something we can do with our horses as well. So the next time you are annoyed with your horse, or you think your horse is misbehaving and you catch yourself saying, no, don't do this, figure out something you can actually ask the horse to do that they can't do without not doing the undesired behavior. Yes. Hope this helps. And let me know in the comments below if you have heard this before when it comes to training theory. Let me know if you have tried it. And I think the second principle that we must be aware of with our pets and our horses and our dogs is that it either gets better or it gets worse. So I think this stems from the associations we all as living beings get. So if I had continued walking the dogs together, and every time they were together with me, they would start fighting, they would start associating being with me with fighting. And the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. Things don't usually just solve themselves unless we change our behavior. Yes, so if you find something small with your horse, just a tiny little thing, you think like maybe when I pick up on the rein, my horse becomes a little stiff. Fix it right away and make sure that when you pick up on the rein, your horse becomes very soft. Because if you ride with this tiny little association for the horse of becoming a bit stiff when you pick up on the reins, that's going to get worse and probably end with bolting or something else out of the blue, while it's just something that started as a tiny little thing that, got worse and worse and worse because we didn't solve it right away. Yes, have you noticed this too, maybe? I hope so. And I get a lot of horses with serious problems, bolters, buckers, stuff like that. I get them for free and I retrain them. And I don't try to ride these things through and start a fight with the horse or, make them, try to ride them. I just always make sure that they know the riding signals and the rein signals, especially. And all of these horses have become a little bit stiff when you pick up on the rein. But this is something you can solve on the ground before riding, so that you have then tools and you have made the horse soft before, trying to ride through stuff, which is much safer and also much more effective. Because if we ride with riding signals that don't work perfectly, they tend to get worse. Yes, so let me know in the comments below if you have experienced this too. And the third thing that I think is extremely important, both with horses and dogs, is that we don't pressure them to do stuff, but we either release them to do stuff or reward them to do stuff. And this is actually all on us and not on the dog or the horse for that matter. So if you feel like you have a horse that is strong, that's not because of the horse. It's because of the way the horse is handled. And the same is with the dogs. If, I could easily say that this yearling dog who doesn't know how to go on the leash is a strong dog and that she's pulley. But she doesn't know how to walk with the leash. So that's why it's my then responsibility to release on the right thing and make sure she doesn't learn how to become strong. And the same with the horses. But as humans, we intuitively tend to, pull against and start this little bit of a tug of war, which is what makes the dog or the horse strong. But if we instead, like I've been doing with this dog now, just a short sessions, couple of sessions every day, is that every time she pulls on the leash, I either stop or walk the other way. And when she doesn't pull on the leash, we walk together. But if I had started trying to holding her back, I would very easily train her to associate being on a leash with pulling on the leash. And before you know it, you have kind of, rolled the leash around your hand and it's trying to hold back the dog. Or you need two leashes. And then, it's always like it's constant pressure, which then makes it impossible to operate through the release, which is what the dog and the horse learn from. They learn from the release. When the leash is released, they don't learn from when the leash is tight. Yes, I hope this makes sense. And I do the exact same thing with the horses. If I have a horse who wants to rush up in front of me, I don't start holding them back. I just simply turn around and walk the other way, and the horse ends up behind me and gets a slack in the lead rope. So I basically do the same with the dogs as with the horses, and it's working really well. So we had this dog for about a week now, and it's so fun to see how these 3 principles applies both to the horse training and the dog training. Yes, and if you want to learn a simple thing you can do with your horse, or maybe even dog for that matter, is to teach your horse to stand without being tied. Because if we tie our horses and rely on the cross ties or the ropes to make them stand still, we are not releasing them to stand still, we are actually pressuring them to stand still. And this is something that will carry on into the riding. But if we are able to make our idea of the horse standing still the horse's idea, we have started the ride and the handling of the horse completely differently. Yes, they are playing around in the living room now. So fun. Yeah, and she also knows how to stand now. And they learn this so quickly once we get our head around not pressuring our pets to do stuff, but reward or release them to do stuff. And if you want to learn how to do this with your horse, then you can go to ridelikeaviking.no/park and get the free training that teaches your horse to stand without being tied in as little as 20 minutes. Or you can just comment yes below and I will send you the free training on DM. Okay, I hope this helps and thank you so much for joining and bye for now.